When a land is degraded, it has lost its productive capacity. It is unfed, it is unhealthy, it is unfertile. Today, 23% of land is degraded. And the continuation of this will impact around 40% of the population, which is around 3.2 billion people. And basically, the reason we need a healthy, fertile land is to grow food, agriculture, and basic survival. So according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, around 33% of the world's soil are moderately or highly degraded due to erosion, acidification, chemical pollution, etc. And these variables are all they're man-made. They're man's decisions and choices and actions. This will lead to many humanitarian disasters and economic ones. Land degradation causes the economy $10.6 trillion annually due to the reduced agricultural productivity, loss of biodiversity, and disrupted ecosystem services. The reason I'm mentioning all these facts and figures is to go directly to the point of the core root behind it all is one single factor, which is the human and our choices and our decisions and our actions. So human activity. According to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, on their website it says, land degradation is the result of human-induced actions which exploit land, causing its utility, biodiversity, soil fertility, and overall health to decline. So based on that understanding and foundation, my expectation for this year is to adopt a broader understanding and perspective in addressing the issue and the solution towards not only technological development alone, but really looking at how can we invest in the human mindset, in the human value, in the human understanding and education, and not only knowledge alone without understanding and really embodiment is not going to do anything. So really, how can our education system and environmental awareness adopt a new approach that doesn't only raise awareness based on scientific awareness or facts and figures, because the result of that, as we're seeing, is fear and paralysis, lack of action, hopelessness, and really nothing much is coming out of it. But what I'd like to see is really reconnecting with the land, healing that disconnect between humanity and nature. And when I say that, I mean ourselves too. So how can we really bring that back, these values that kind of remind us that we are not only part of nature, we are nature too. And based on that philosophy and understanding and values that our religions and culture really push for and advocate for, to be brought back into this conversation and into the way we look at identifying the challenge, but also the solution. Today, a lot of opportunities for youth voices to be heard and part of the conversation. However, the gap that I see there is how much of that engagement is really implemented on the ground or actually taken into consideration. And maybe at times they are, but there's lack of transparency on communicating that back to the youth. We need an affirmation that our contribution is really taken into consideration, and it's not just ticking a box or a KPI. That could be through transparency and better communication, or just changing the way youth engagement and policy is really approached. The second thing is really the role of education. And I don't mean just adding into the curriculum, I mean reforming the whole education system, rethinking, reimagining, rebuilding the role of schools and what is their role today. The way they were formed once is based for a completely different generation, challenges in industry, and time have changed, but our education system really haven't changed much or evolved to meet the demands of the 21st century. So that's from either equipping the youth from the skills, the mindset, the understanding, the knowledge, but also the approach. So there's, of course, the scientific, the understanding, but also I think building that, I reaffirm that, the inner well-being and inner development, emotion, intelligence, self-awareness, healing that disconnect between humanity and nature is so vital. I don't want the youth to act out of fear alone. I want them to act out of love and respect. That's much more sustainable, and it goes way too far. When you have a healthy human, that healthy human can come up with healthy solutions and not only to mitigate, to deal with current issues, but mitigate them. We don't have to create them anymore because we understand ourselves and what we need. That's one. in terms of the education. The second thing, I think we need to invest in negotiation skills, and schools should play a role in the youth and students being part of proposing policy recommendations. These policy recommendations can be collected as data, for researchers, for decision makers, and how can it influence overall policies in the future. So that's some of the roles of the school could play. Again, the technical, the practical skills. Now with the green job transition and the job market changing, there's a huge skill gap. Are we really learning practically, or is it all just information? There's a huge gap, and that's why when you join the job market, recruiters can't find the right fit, and that's a huge issue. And I think honestly that's why with my work at Sangha we really try to target these initiatives. But again, I'm also just a small entity trying to tackle the world, and all these challenges, and I think that's where we need to kind of work as a collective, and identify these efforts that the youth are taking, but then know who is taking the initiative, and then build a structure, maybe working groups or from experts, youth, and non-profit and NGOs and all of that, governmental, to bring that to life, to kind of bring these fresh and new ways of thinking and seeing into life. The vision is there, the entities are there, the funding is there, the youth are there, the knowledge is there. So the opportunity is really in harmonized action and effort, in my perspective. So it's organizing interdisciplinary and inclusive working groups. How can we set clear strategies, structures, and monitoring, reporting processes that allow our efforts to harmonize in terms of tackling these issues, whether it's from educational, all the challenges that we face. How can we approach them from, in terms of an action plan, but also I think reporting and communication of these efforts are very important, because it allows us to reflect, learn, know what is already being done. How can I not repeat? How can I contribute? Joint efforts instead of starting new. Best practices as well. And I see that on a national and a regional level, to be honest, through, especially now with Saudi Green Initiative, having the MENA region, ISESCO, UN entities. The entities are plenty. It's just really coming together and identifying challenges and action plans and doing more and less talking, in my opinion. The youth don't want to just continue to talk, honestly. Yes, we want to be heard, but we want to contribute. We want to save ourselves and the planet. That's our reality at the end. We're inheriting a lot of it, so we don't want to be part of the conversation now. We want to save the situation. And hopefully not survival only, but to flourish.